In the summer of 1991, I graduated from Marine Corps Officer Candidate School and then returned for the fall semester to finish my final year at the United States Naval Academy. I graduated that following spring and was commissioned a second lieutenant in the United States Marine Corps. That one decision to serve, that one decision to offer myself as a veteran of this country, still to this day in my mid 50s, is the most important professional decision that I've made. My name is M.K. Palmore. I'm the Vice President and member of the Board of Directors for Cyversity. Cyversity, if you're unaware, is a nonprofit 501c3 that's been around for about a decade. The organization was founded by several technologists, senior security leaders in the industry who recognize the absence of women and minorities in the cybersecurity industry. Today, Cyversity as an organization is re-amplifying its commitment to the veterans community. Our mission as an organization is the increase in the presence of women, people of color, and veterans in the cybersecurity and wider technology space. We want on this day to amplify our commitment to the veterans demographic because we absolutely feel as an organization that this is a community that we want to provide a lift and assist to in joining us in the cybersecurity and technology field. And we all know as veterans, and for those of you joining the call, that veterans bring a special sauce to anything that they do in the workplace and are easily attracted to the benefits and capabilities that exist for those of us in the cybersecurity industry. In my day job, I'm a senior cybersecurity leader for a large-scale technology provider and vendor. But my passion topic, and the reason that I dedicate my time and cycles to this particular cause, is because bringing folks into the cybersecurity industry is as important today as it ever was. So you see our mission, bringing more women, people of color, veterans to the industry. Cybersecurity or Cyversity as an organization is governed by our board of directors. I'm going to show you a picture here in a second as to who those members are, and you'll see and get an indication of the type of high-level executives who have contributed continually to the mission of the organization. We're run by an executive team, of course, and we have a significant partner in lift from a team from a company called Virtual Inc., who operates many of the back-end operations of Cyversity. We're available nationwide at the moment. We have 10 plus chapters, some chapters in the works across the United States. But guess what? In this virtual environment, where you reside, we will meet you there. You don't necessarily need to be in the geographic regions that are denoted here on the screen, but there is connectivity, physical connectivity in terms of networking available to you in all of the areas that you see here listed on the screen. And guess what? We're always looking for leaders, members of the organization that can stand up new chapters in different locations. As I said earlier, Board of Directors is governed by senior cybersecurity leaders and technologists, and still to this day, at least two of the founders of the organization, or three, remain on the board and contributing to the daily, weekly, and yearly goals of the organization. I want to take a moment now to hand off to one of our original founders and who is also a veteran, Devin Bryan, current CIO for the Carnival Cruise Network.
MK, thank you so very much for the kind introductions, and certainly thanks everybody for taking time out of all that you guys have going on to join us today. I'm truly excited to be a part of today's event. I'm certainly looking forward to hearing from my colleagues and fellow vets as well in terms of their journeys and their experiences. So MK, as you said, certainly wasn't lost on us. Larry, former U.S. Air Force veteran, former U.S. Air Force active duty officer, I should say, Carlos Edwards, U.S. Navy vet, myself, ex-Air Force, and Julian Edwards, Julian Waits, who's not a vet, but nevertheless was a founding member when we got together back in 2014 and thought about what could we do differently to help to move the needle even a tiny bit in creating opportunities for veterans, for women, and for practitioners of color to get into the field, and not just to get into the field, but to grow their careers. So, again, many of the skills, the competencies that as vets, right, is going through military training, and certainly expectations placed on us as members of the military. Many of those skills and attributes translate directly into what cyber practitioners are asked to bring to bear on a daily basis in the protection of their companies, right? So many of those attributes: discipline, teamwork, collaboration, quick thinking abilities, being able to analyze risky situations and take decisive actions in a very timely manner. All of those translate directly to what our organizations expects of us as cyber defenders. So in the creation of Cyversity, back then it was ICMCP, we wanted to make sure that we were broad enough in the talent pool that we're looking to tap into, and quite frankly, the lives that we're looking to change. Again, not lost in us that careers in cyber are certainly life changing, especially for folks within our communities who are on the margins, so to speak, whether they're underrepresented or underserved. And so the programs that currently are in place at Cyversity is intended to help to tackle that. Certainly would be naive to think that organizations like Cyversity by ourselves can solve this very, very large, very complex problem that we have in the lack of diversity in the cybersecurity workforce. But what we wanted to do was to do the little that we could to move the needle even a tiny bit. The organization has been so truly blessed, so truly lucky over the years to have had the kind of support that we've had from the community, whether it's folks taking time away from their families, their church, their kids' soccer, Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts activities, to donate their time, whether it's to mentor, whether it's to help create programs, to initiate outreach activities for sponsorship. Over the years, that all those activities in sum total really transformed a number of lives that we're just so truly lucky and so truly blessed to have been a part of. I'd certainly be remiss as well, MK, if I didn't just quickly touch on the fact that 501c3 organizations like Cyversity basically exist and live and die based on the benevolence of our industry partners and sponsors. Right. And we have been so very, very truly lucky to, over the years, enjoyed a lot of support from a number of different companies and individuals across our industry that have essentially awarded scholarships, help with our conferences, help with our programs. And so we just are so truly thankful for the support that we've received over the years. So MK, I just want to quickly, just offer those as my thoughts, my perspectives. Very, very truly excited about this program. You're able to recap your day of commission. I went through basic training twice. First, as an enlisted man, I was an enlisted airman for 5 years before I was lucky enough to get accepted into the officer commissioning program in the U.S. Air Force. And I went back through basic training a second time to become a commissioned officer. But so great to be here, MK, and I'd be happy to take any questions as we move forward in the program, but I'll turn it back to you to take us through the rest of today's session.
Outstanding, Devin. We appreciate your ongoing guidance. We certainly appreciate and must acknowledge the vision that you and the other founders had when you established this organization. And as always, we appreciate your continuing and ongoing contribution to our mission and objectives. I'd like to introduce and bring to the stage now Maureen Allison, and I want to take about 10 seconds to make an introduction. I first met Maureen at an RSA event not too long ago, in fact, a few years back. Immediately, we connected on our common and shared background, first as veterans, and then as practitioners in the cybersecurity industry. Maureen has a fascinating background. She is a now retired former global CISO for Johnson & Johnson. She is a graduate of the United States Military Academy at West Point. I might add, a distinguished graduate, part of the first class of women to graduate from West Point, a former FBI agent, and a litany of other well thought out professional components within her background. Really an impressive person. And of final note, agreed to be a member of the advisory board for Cyversity because of her passion for this topic around diversifying the industry, bringing more women, people of color, and veterans. We're happy that Maureen's taken a couple of minutes out of her day to join us on this call, and I want to welcome her to the stage. And thank you again, Maureen, for being an advisor, for being so passionate about this topic, for participating and donating and giving of your time. Thank you.
So MK, thank you very much, and to everyone out there, excuse, I was on a red eye. I came from Las Vegas and landed in Newark, New Jersey, and I'm now, when we talk about diversity, I'm on the board of Sphere, which is a woman-owned venture capital company. And so I'm continuing this passion. When I graduated from West Point in 1980, I always had been told what I couldn't do because I was a woman. Well, I stopped listening to that. I wasn't going to stand for that. And what I realized, the more you tell people that they can do something, you get way better performance, and they can do so much. And when it came to cyber and all the things, there's none of us that really knew what we were doing back in the day. We all had to learn because we had good upbringing. People believed in us. We had good educations. And that's a model that can be reproduced and reused. And the same thing. My veteran experience was life defining. And just because there weren't jobs for women and I couldn't go to the positions that I wanted to, they didn't want me in harm's way. It was easy. Maureen, we don't want you in harm's way. So I got out and became an undercover special agent in the FBI. So I was like, wait a minute, there's something wrong here. We can do things and we have to push people and help them. And when I ran into MK, we were like twins. We were twins. We were like, what? You're FBI? What? Well, he went to the Naval Academy, so I will give him that. But was Academy grads, and he saw, people couldn't decide how we were going to pay for lunch. He's like, okay, we'll just do it. 2 West Point women, we figured it out. We said, okay, this is what we're going to do. And off we went. And that's the thing we have to believe in. And so when MK asked, I said, I'm here. And truth be known, a couple minutes late coming to even this call. Why? Because I was down the hall with the CEO of the company, and we were talking about a women's mentorship program and what we should do for women and minorities around venture capital so that they can have an equal chance. So I am thrilled to be here, continuing the mission, and we'll always continue the mission. Thank you.
Thanks, Maureen. Outstanding. Again, for those of you who are not familiar with Maureen's background, her passion in the industry and how she's plugged in, she just gave you a description of how in various circles, folks understand that she's a North Star for the industry on this issue of diversity and inclusion. And she is a part of multiple conversations and ways to actually move the needle on this issue. And we are absolutely proud at Cyversity that she's agreed to support our efforts as an advisory board member and in functions like this. So thank you again, Maureen. We truly appreciate it. Okay, right now, I want to give a few moments to the sponsor for this particular uplift or session, and that is the team at Fortinet. So I want to give the stage to Don Walling. Don is a now great partner of Cyversity and also employed at Fortinet. And I want to give the stage to these guys so they can talk a little bit about their support of veterans initiatives. Don, take it away.
Thanks. Thank you, MK. Appreciate that. I appreciate the introduction. This is a wonderful partnership, and we look forward to collaborating more in the future. For those that don't know, I'll just tell a bit about myself. I'm Fortinet's Global Program Manager for our education outreach and our veterans programs. So what we've done is we've made our veterans program a part of the education outreach program. We did that to closer align with our corporate social responsibility goals. For those that don't know about Fortinet, I'm hoping that most do. Fortinet is a US-based but global leader in enterprise class cyber and networking innovations. We've got a strong worldwide partnership base. It's wonderful that we're a multi-billion-dollar company in terms of billings, market cap. But the other part that I focus on is that we've had over 1 million people trained in our NSE certifications. So 1 million NSE certifications and growing. NSE stands for Network Security Expert, and that is the program that Cyversity members have access to. We look forward to contributing more to this through our education outreach and our veterans programs. In fact, we have a new goal, new commitment that we are on track for to get 1 million people trained by 2026, I believe. So yes, if you can go ahead one more slide, please. Thank you. So this is the overview. Back one slide, thank you. This is an overview on the education outreach program. We are focused on driving that skilled, inclusive, and diverse cyber workforce through great partnerships like Cyversity. I mentioned earlier that the veterans program is now part of education outreach. We're aligning close with our corporate social responsibility goals to lower the cybersecurity skills gap, but do so with an emphasis on diversity, equity, and inclusion. So we are committed to ensuring that economically challenged, underserved, and underrepresented groups and individuals have access to these resources so that they can enter into the cyberspace. And of course, I would categorize the military community as underrepresented. There's a huge opportunity there's open roles globally. If you could go to the next slide, that would be awesome. The veterans program is near and dear to our heart. It's our 5th year of this program. We are a Vets Index sees recognized employer. But again, I see there's a huge opportunity here. According to ISC Squared's annual survey, there are 3.4 million open global cyber roles. That number is not going down, it's going up. It was 2.7 million previously. And so we see this as a huge opportunity to get more veterans in the industry. We have, with the program being 5 years on now, we've had and helped thousands of veterans transition into the industry. I mentioned this is near and dear to Fortinet because we have a percentage of our workforce who are veterans. You will hear from one on the panel today. And how we do that, if we could go to the next slide, please. This is our platform to get veterans and others into the industry. It's our 8-level training and certification program. It's designed as a validation of your skills and knowledge and expertise. I would say that with this type of training, if you get to, this is what we call a pathway to certification. And so we're encouraging people to get to the NSE 4 level, the Network Security Expert 4 level of certification. That is the first internationally recognized level of certification that allows people to and qualifies people to apply for entry-level cyber roles. And once they get to that point, there's the opportunity to apply for administrator roles, analyst roles, specialists, continue on as architects. But we also like to remind people that there are many non-technical, or let's say less technical opportunities. such as sales, marketing, operations. And B, you don't necessarily need a degree, multiple degrees. You don't necessarily need to have an IT background. But if you go through a pathway of certification, such as we offer our partners and partners such as Cyversity, you'll be in a position to apply for these jobs. And so we're doing this to aid in the transition of veterans from the military into civilian life, and specifically our hope, knowing that other industries globally are going through skills gaps. Our hope is that we can draw people into the cybersecurity space. Our support to our partners is not only this free training, but also specifically we support them by offering exam vouchers for NSE 4. So this would position more people and encourage more people to get to that level of certification so that they could be in a position to apply to these entry-level roles. And I'm happy to say this is how we support Cyversity. We've done this globally in education outreach and veterans programs. We have over 40 partners globally. We have a partner that we recently brought on board in South Africa. They put 64 people through certification. That's $26,000 US that we're supporting them with that they otherwise wouldn't be able to afford. So we're trying to make a difference. We're trying to focus on lowering that cybersecurity gap, and it's through great relationships and great partnerships, such as the one we have with Cyversity, that we're able to do that. Thanks, MK.
Outstanding. Thanks, Don. We're excited about the partnership with Fortinet, and we're excited about the opportunity to bring new veteran members to the organization, Cyversity, and introduce them to all of the various training platforms, but Fortinet being one of our critical partners in this endeavor. Look forward to pointing those folks towards your platform and learning through the systems that Fortinet has created. So appreciate the partnership. Thank you, sir.
My pleasure, Malcolm. And just one other thing I'd like to say is beyond the veterans community, we really want to focus on and encourage more women to come into the industry, more underrepresented groups, people of color. We would really like, there's a huge opportunity, as I said, with that global cybersecurity skills gap. So we want to encourage everybody.
Absolutely. And that's why all of this is the synergy, I think, from the sentiment that you just offered, and certainly from our mission statement as an organization. This is why I think the partnership is going to work so well on both ends. Thank you again.
Looking forward to it. Thank you.
We thought we might spend the next few minutes really giving folks a vision as to how they can transition into the cybersecurity industry. I know that in many instances, veterans who are maybe approaching the end of their service, looking for an opportunity to transition, or veterans who have already transitioned out, oftentimes need to have something in the way of representation to show them the pathways that they can engage in order to gain traction in an industry like cybersecurity. And before we bring these panelists up, I want to make a particular point about a transition into cyber. Some points I think that Devin touched upon, certainly Maureen touched upon in her comments, is that you can break into this industry without having served in the capacity of being a cryptologist or a cyber defender. There are pathways through Cyversity and other organizations out there that will teach you the skills that you need in order to enter into this field. And there's probably not a more dynamic field available for folks to enter today in the technology space. Cybersecurity is at the forefront of nearly every conversation. So let's bring to the stage Pete Luan, Marilyn Harris, and Christopher Goins, all of whom have agreed to talk a bit about their transition industry. They're all veterans like myself and like many of the folks speaking on this call. And so let's take a moment first. I'll give you guys each a moment to introduce yourselves, talk a little bit about your background, and I'll have some pointed questions about transitioning into the cyber industry. Pete, why don't we start with you?
Yeah, good morning. Thanks for having me. It's a great opportunity to talk here with veterans. I enjoy doing that as much as possible. But yeah, 20 years in the Marine Corps, joined out of high school in 95. Was a joint open contract just to get out of the house. Was a personal admin clerk and found out that it was much better to do something that could possibly make me some money in the future. Talked to some gentlemen out on about to get out in 99, and one of the Marines was talking to me about how the internet works. In 99, when you type in an IP address or a website on the computer, what it translates to ones and zeros and binary and power on and off, and how it goes out to the internet and comes back, and it sucked me into the field, and applied for the job, got it, and it was from 99 to 2015. I just did cybersecurity, doing network analysis, threat assessment, spent some time on the red team, and came out, and I still enjoy doing this over almost 25 years now. I'm excited every morning.
Outstanding. We're going to dive a little bit deeper into your background, but appreciate the intro. Marilyn.
Yes. Hi, everyone. I'm Marilyn Harris. I live in Houston, Texas, and I joined the U.S. Army in 1981 out of necessity. My mother died when I was 8, and so I had to learn how to hustle quick to be able to put myself through college. I found the money and scholarships to put myself through my first year, but in my second year, I ran out of money. So guess what I did? I raised my hand and I joined the Army. I'm a former Army nurse. The Army paid for me to go to my initial nursing LVN program, and that started my professional career. I was not good at tech. I really tried to stay away from it, but I'll talk a little bit in the next segment about how tech found me, and I used my skills that I learned from the Army to be successful in transitioning and working in technology.
Outstanding. Thanks, Marilyn. Christopher, welcome to the stage.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm Christopher Goins, and I have a little over 20 years of service by way of the Navy and the Air Force. And I joined early on in 1996 as a 19-year-old, at a freshman year out of college, looking for something else, a little more adventure, trying to figure out exactly what it was I wanted to do. I was a Naval Air Traffic Controller for 6 years, and while I was in college, September 11th occurred, and so I felt the call to serve again, and jumped right back into the Air Force within the Security Forces career field. And that's how I spent another couple of decades serving and gaining the experiences that we'll talk about later on in helping me transition into the cybersecurity field.
Outstanding. So the question that I'm going to tee up for all of you is I want you to talk in a little bit more detail about your transition into cyber. How did you find it? What were the first steps that you took to sort of get yourself wrapped around the idea that you were leaning into this technology field and maybe your first job in the field? And Marilyn, I know you have a really interesting story, so why don't we start with you?
Yes, I like to first describe myself with 4 words so you understand who I am, because you see these credentials behind my name. I'm smart, I'm strategic, I'm resilient, and I'm a badass. I knew nothing about technology. I didn't know how computers worked. I just knew when you push the button, it should work. So I went to a networking event and they asked me if I wanted to come to a network boot camp, a company I never heard about called Rackspace in San Antonio, Texas. I thought it was another place where you can eat or drink for free. I went for the first 3 days. I bought the book. I dropped out at lunchtime on day 3 because I didn't know what they were talking about, but I promised the professor, his name is Jeff, that I would be back and I would study networking and I would know when I came back the next time I attended his class. It didn't cost any money. It just took a little time. And I realized from my military experience, I had been in organizations that were primarily male dominated, and I could function and I could excel. So I came to Cyversity through the recommendation of my cybersecurity teacher, because I heard about this wonderful organization that promoted women like me that are minorities, that didn't have any experience in tech, that are disabled. And Cyversity saw me, it affirmed me, and it moved me forward. And so I am a very delighted cybersecurity professional now. I am in a master's in enterprise cybersecurity management, and you'll see me around the world. Thank you.
Outstanding. Christopher.
Sure. Roughly in about 2006, I had an opportunity to become the program lead for managing my command's privacy and security programs. And that in turn allowed me to gain valuable hands-on experience and also use that to earn several certifications. So towards the end of 2020, while I was serving as the Wing Information Protection Officer, I was offered an opportunity to join one of the Big Four accounting firms and work within their cybersecurity practice. So I jumped at the chance, and in that capacity, I was advising state and local government CISOs on the revision and implementation of their cybersecurity strategies. While I found that work rewarding, that if you'll notice, Navy, Air Force, I tend to get impatient, and I had an opportunity to build a team and a cybersecurity program that was a certification from scratch. So I like a good challenge, and that's how I joined the company I'm with now, Fortress Information Security, where I'm currently the program lead for the AUVSI Trusted Cyber Certification Program, which in layman's terms is a program in which we ensure that drones meet a suite of voluntary industry standards, regulations, and best practices that address cyber risks specific to uncrewed and autonomous systems and their internal components across all operational domains, air, land, and sea. And I would not have gained any of those opportunities and experiences had I not taken on those side jobs back in 2006, working within the program and risk management field.
Outstanding. Good stuff. Pete, tell us your story.
Yeah, so I jumped ahead a little bit earlier, but basically, when I joined in '95 out of high school, I never owned a computer. I didn't have email. I didn't know what any of that was. And joined '95, open contract, enlisted, went in, did that. And '99, about to get out, I saw the field, the comm field, started talking to them. Got interested right away as soon as I didn't know what they were talking about. It just intrigued me. First class I sat on was subnetting, and it blew me away. But I grasped it pretty quickly. Apparently, how these subnets and how they're making numbers, and the first one doesn't count, but the second one does count unless you're on a start phone 250. All these things, and it was just crazy. Jumped to my first duty station after I go to school. I'm a corporal, and they put me in the classroom. So now I'm an assistant instructor, brand new to the MOS, and I don't know what I'm doing. They sent me to a course. It was one of the certification course. I believe it was Learning Tree back then. And I went there, and if anyone went to those courses, they used to give those big old cookies whenever you walked in. But anyways, those ones, go in there and go and get in the certification. It was an advanced networking and troubleshooting for a Cisco switching environment. And again, completely way over my head, didn't know what was going on. But I took that knowledge back, and I started using that over the next few months to identify, everything that was happening in the classroom, in the networks, and be able to bring it to that next level. Understanding what was out there really helped me to progress and learn that. And it just exceeded from there. I was just always excited to learn the next step. Really, I had some great mentors, some great staff and COs and officers that would pull me to the side and help me out. And I think the thing that kept me in this for the long run was around 2003. I was up in Camp Lejeune, and I was running Ethereal before it was Wireshark. Running Ethereal every morning, running it for 5 minutes, going through packets, looking through it. And I was able to, I started sorting them out, and I realized that there was the same IP address using the same protocol going to our IP address 3 at a time. And I started doing some research and seeing that it was an actual attack. And what it was doing was at the third time of being accessed, trying a password, it would lock it out on the fourth attempt. So I put two and two together, figured out this attack, finding out what's happening, ran down the hall, talked to my officer, let him know what was going on. They reported it. By the time we reported it, our network was secure, was blocked, but half of the East Coast got shut down. And it was probably not really well known, but 2003, half of the East Coast military bases were shut down from this attack. And our unit was secure. I mean, we were still blocked because everyone else was, but we didn't get hit because of that. And that right there from 2003, it's piqued my interest. It's brought me to the same, the same ability to want to find that next attack or prevent that next attack, right? Making sure that we're in there. And then moving forward, a couple of years being selected for the red team and sitting on getting my certified ethical hacker certification, seeing how easy it really is to do those things, and knowing that prior to being a bad guy per se, thinking that everything that I was protecting was completely secure. If I didn't let you on my network, you weren't going to get there. And then I joined the red team, and I realized, no, every one of my networks, someone's been on it probably. How do I fight? How do I fix this? How do I work on this? And providing, with my company, and go into that I'm sure later, but providing that the visibility and action, available actionable intel that you can do something with at real time, being able to provide that across the board is really key to moving forward. And it's being able to be part of that attack initially really helped me progress my job.
So you touched on a couple of things. First of all, I see a T-shirt in the making. We need to get Pete versus the Advanced Persistent Threat marketed ASAP. But you teased up a couple of different topics there, and one that I want all of the panelists to address, and that is sometimes from the outside looking in, folks can really be deterred about breaking into this industry. There is a misperception that all cybersecurity is straightforward coding. You need to come from a STEM background in order to even enter the industry, or you won't understand what's going on. Talk a little bit about overcoming that hump and what you've seen from all of the various subdomains about like what's really required, your level of technical expertise versus other skills that you can bring to the table. Pete touched on like threat analysis being one of them. Certainly, maybe you understand some aspects of coding, but not all of it requires that kind of background. Can each of you touch on that? Marilyn, we'll start with you.
Thank you. I've been a nurse for the last 35 years. I've nursed. These hands have helped heal people on 5 continents. I have a boatload of skills. One is listening, problem solving, communication. And you don't have to constantly be in a dark room working on 4 computer screens. There's so many things you can do in cyber. Like I said, I'm a woman. I'm over 55. I'm disabled. I'm a veteran, not your classic cybersecurity person. And then I've pivoted from a very lucrative career. I'm actually merging the two, nursing of 35 years, all kinds of nursing and levels of responsibility to cybersecurity. Don't be afraid. People say, how did you get started? I just walked in a room of people that knew about cybersecurity, and I started asking questions. I went back to community college. I took classes with 19-year-olds, and I learned from scratch what I know now, and I'm better for it. Give it a try.
Awesome. Christopher.
I would say the one thing that I've noticed that all of us have in common is a high level of intellectual curiosity. And I think that if you have that going in the door, you can be taught anything that you need to learn within this career field. But if you can't have that curiosity, that hunger to learn, to want to understand how to put that puzzle together, how to stop the threat actor, how best to help the client, then you're going to succeed anyway, whichever way, as there's multiple avenues within this career field. But as long as you have that as your foundation, that hunger to learn, you're going to do just fine.
So Pete, I want to change the question a bit for you and have you start off a thread around what characteristics of your experience as a veteran translate into the industry. And I don't mean the technical part. I mean the pieces about being a veteran and what veterans bring to the table. What do you think some threads that carry through no matter what it is that you're doing?
Well, yeah, start off by echoing what Marilyn said. We're all badasses, right? So we bring that to the industry. I mean, we don't back down. We don't need someone to tell us 5 times to do something. We usually get the mission completed, and it's going to get done. We're going to be there on time. Our responsibilities, are above par from any other, for most people, civilians coming into the workforce. Our ability to answer questions, to join the conversations, to be part of the group. We all know we work as a team. It's watching your man to the left and your man or women, you left to your right of you, making sure that you're going to be successful and come back and bring everything home. I think that's really the value, is that we know how to work as a team, and we're not afraid to ask questions. But we also know that if the guidance is given for direction, we're gonna get to that direction. We're gonna follow it, finish it.
Outstanding. Marilyn, what parts of your character that you developed as a veteran do you pull through as a thread in your day job now?
I went in the military when I was 19. I still remember the lessons from my drill sergeant because I was enlisted at Fort Jackson, South Carolina. Act smartly, use your hand, use your brain, Harris. Be strategic, think strategically. Resilience. I mean, go for the long haul. Just make decisions to stay in the game, and just don't deny who you are. Don't deny your brilliance. I mean, basic training was my drill sergeant's name for me was college. He said, you should have kept your ass in college, Harris. But I graduated.
I think we all still to this day have nightmares of drill sergeants saying things to us that seems to have stuck in the brain housing group and that we carry with us throughout our lives. Christopher, characteristics that you pull through to this day.
Yeah, when I went through naval boot camp, one of the things that my chief had alluded to, and he kept telling me this over and over, was that you have a good understanding of what you're trying to do, but you need to continually seek self-improvement. Don't get lazy. Don't be comfortable in what you're doing. Don't just stand there and accept what's happening. Be proactive. Continue to be proactive. And so that's what I bring. That's one of the lessons that I often bring is if you see a problem, you fix it. 9 times out of 10, I don't, I'm not asking for permission. Well, there's a hole here. Should I take care of this? No, I'm just going to go ahead and fill the gap and make sure that things are working. So that's one of the things that I learned early on in my naval career, and it served me exponentially throughout my professional career.
Outstanding. So next to the last question, but I want to we're sort of wrapped around this idea of how to get started. What's the best way for someone to really get started? Of course, I'm going to advocate and will continue to advocate that folks join organizations like Cyversity so that you have an ecosystem and a network around you to help guide you through this process. But when you're sitting across the table from someone who just doesn't know how to get started, what's your advice to them? Pete?
So I think in the IT field, it really is very diverse, right? So it's going to be between networking and routing, server admin, clouds, virtualization. There's so many aspects of that. And then typically, usually the conversations when it comes to me is around security. And my comment is that it takes experience, and you got to start from somewhere. I don't care if you've been out for 20 years or if you've been out for just got out of the military yesterday. The experience is going to be required. And if you don't have the drive, do not do it for the money. The money is going to be there, but do not do it for the money. You're going to hate your life every day if you're doing this job for the money. You need to find something that makes you excited, that you want to talk about and get in front of people and be able to explain your job and what you do and show that excitement. So working with that, it is definitely the certifications is a must. Education, regardless if you're going through a traditional university, if you're doing it online, if you're doing it for just certs, whatever the case is, in this field, no matter what you're doing, it's constant learning. You're not going to close a book tomorrow and be doing the same thing in 6 years, let alone 6 months. It's going to change. You have to constantly constantly learn, constantly get recertified, and stay on top of it all. So if you're willing to do that, if you're willing to take the challenge and it excites you, then let's talk and let's see what path we can get you down. One quick story: I have my daughter's baseball coach. A couple years back, him and his whole family's in ironwork, and that's all they've done was ironwork for 2 or 3 generations, and the whole family was in it, doing decent. He got into computers. His dad and a few people were a little upset. His wife was upset because his starting pay at an entry-level field in computers, I got him his Sec Plus and his Net Plus to start off. Got him in an interview, got him a job. He started about $4 lower an hour than he was doing still working, but he didn't come home. His back wasn't hurting. His hands weren't beat up. He wasn't having to look for a job when it rained because they were stopping work services. And 4 years later, he's making more than his father makes doing working in the field after 15 years, 20 years in doing that. So the value of this job, from the basic pay to where you can exceed your value, is all up to you. There's no stopping it right there.
Outstanding. Christopher?
I would say that the first thing that you want to do is define exactly what path that you want to go down, and really define that. And while you're doing that, take a look at your experience that you've had throughout your military career. You'd alluded to it earlier. So many of our skills translate so well into the cybersecurity field. You just have to learn how to speak that language. There are lots of things that you have done, for example, risk assessments, risk mitigation, risk analysis, threat analysis. You've done these things. You may not have done them in the capacity with cybersecurity, but you know how to do that type of analysis. And that is a relatable skill that is actually extremely valuable within the cybersecurity domain. So learning how to sit in with a group of an industry like this with Cyversity, and finding folks on LinkedIn and finding that network that can help you translate those skills that you already have, that they're already marketable, and you can be able to get that entry level position and then gain that valuable work experience so that you can move up through the organization.
Okay, outstanding. Marilyn, how do you get started?
Yes, well, I want to at this point just thank Cyversity for giving me my first scholarship to move into cybersecurity 4 years ago. And I think everyone should start with a self-assessment. reviewing who are you, what are your beliefs, because many of those things are going to be challenged as you enter a new field. You're going to learn new things. You might be uncomfortable because you're starting at ground zero. You don't know what a script kiddie is, like I didn't, and I didn't know the 7 levels of the OSI model. I didn't even know there was an OSI model. The point is, you bring some unique skills and talents to cybersecurity. Relish them. You know, talk about what you know how to do. I know how to assess patients. I know how to keep people alive. I've worked with thousands of patients across continents. Know your value and your worth, because you may be starting a lot of stuff, a lot of classes, a lot of endeavors at the beginning. It's no need to feel small because you're bringing your contribution. And so I suggest the self-assessment to get yourself ready to go up. It's a wonderful opportunity. I started at 57 years old, and I have no intention of stopping anytime soon.
So, Marilyn, you actually veered into the final question I have for you, so I'll let you extend and continue on. For each of you, you're on an elevator. Someone turns to you and asks, hey, what industry do you work in? And you respond, cybersecurity. And their question is, what's so special about cybersecurity? Why should I even think about going into that industry? Give me your 30-second elevator pitch about what it is about this industry that allows folks to thrive and survive. Marilyn?
My name is Marilyn Harris, and I am a passionate nurse in cybersecurity. I help you, your family, your business, and the world around you keep data safe. It's very important. Would you like to hear more?
I
like it. Ready. Christopher.
It's going to be a tough one to follow. I'm Christopher Goins. I'm a veteran who has fought on multiple continents, on multiple battlefields. What we do in cybersecurity is we ensure that the battlefield that you call home remains safe, that you can access your data, communicate with your family and friends, and be profitable and helpful at work.
Outstanding. You guys are taking me literally. You're actually giving elevator pitches. I love it. Pete, take us, bring us home.
Yeah, so it's Pete Lujan. And I'll tell you that, there's a difference between being compliant and being secure. If you want to be compliant, we can get you that all day long. If you want to be secure, here's my card. Let's schedule some time and sit down and whiteboard this for another couple hours.
Outstanding. So I want to take a moment to personally thank the panelists that joined this call. I am passionate about Veterans Affairs, and these folks on the call are as well. We would not give our time and our cycles to devote to this issue if we were not. And I want to personally thank each of you, Christopher, Pete, and Marilyn, for taking your time to tell your stories, to give some indication to our fellow veterans out there that there is a pathway for them in the cybersecurity industry, and that it's not an impossible climb. It is a bit like putting on the pack and walking up a very steep hill, but I promise you there are plateaus, and you do reach a point where you are sort of comfortable in the journey. So thank you profusely for myself, from Cyversity. Thank you for being members. Thank you for devoting your time to this.
Thanks for having me.
Outstanding. So I want to close out with a couple of different items. One, we did this for a couple of different reasons, and that is to amplify our messaging around the veterans community. As a veteran, as someone who's been involved and engaged in and committed to veterans issues continually, I want to recommend that the veterans listening to this contemplate joining Cyversity. We promise to bring you an environment and an ecosystem that will allow you to grow and thrive in this industry. And as you see here on the screen, there are a number of things. We've been around for a decade. We've got partnerships with many of the organizations that you would naturally turn to. Our goal and our commitment to our members is to bring you the availability and access to this training at either zero cost or very little cost to you as an individual. But we are constantly, as a 501c3, dedicated to raising funds so that we can bring these capabilities to our members at a near free cost to them. So please contemplate joining the organization. We have partnerships now, very strong partnerships with the entities you see listed here on the screen. Every entity from platforms like Coursera and Cybersecurity to many of the industry stalwarts, SANS, ISC Squared, CompTIA, and of course, vendor-specific training like that, which was annotated by the team at Fortinet, our availability and licensing from new startups like ThreatX and others. All of this is available to you as you join our organization. We have a conference coming up. One of the ways that you really take a leap into this industry is to go to the available security conferences, make yourself known, step into the industry, announce yourself, begin to build that network. I promise you, your network will be more valuable to you than nearly anything that you do, and this is part of the Cyversity offering. Our conference is at the end of October in Orlando, Florida, and it is a conference that we aim to hold on an annual basis. We move around the locations, but I promise you at this conference, go to our website at cyversity.org, check out the speakers that we have lined up. We've got a phenomenal cast of speakers to include some outstanding keynote speakers, all of whom are senior leaders in the technology space and industry. And we provide, over the course of that 48 hours, an opportunity for you to learn, grow, and develop your skills and to plug into a network that ultimately is going to be helpful in your journey. Go to our website. Think about supporting our mission. To those of you that are out there on the corporate side of the house who are potential sponsors watching this particular broadcast on LinkedIn Live, for your corporations who are interested in supporting the mission of your employees, for that matter, your diverse population of employees, the veterans within your organization, contemplate supporting Cyversity. Our efforts are force multipliers for you in terms of growing and developing your workforce in the technology and cybersecurity space. As an organization, we are out on the various social media platforms. As someone who does a bit in personal branding and spends a lot of time on platforms like LinkedIn, please, if you see the messaging, amplify the messaging, click to follow, subscribe. Please join us on this journey and support us. Let's get the word out. Let's make sure that we get the word out across social media platforms of this effort, because we cannot do this alone. This is a all-in, all-hands-on-deck effort, and we need everyone to support this. On behalf of the team at Cyversity, I want to thank you for taking a listen to this particular offering and our amplification of our commitment to veterans. And we look to bring aboard even more veterans into our organization. You can find us at cyversity.org. Thanks for your time.